Good evening. I'm Byron Scott with a CTV News update. Topping our news tonight, a lengthy prison sentence for the man convicted of a 2019 Popeyes chicken stabbing in Oxon Hill. 32-year-old Rico McLean, who was convicted in April of second-degree murder, was given 22 years behind bars for the death of 27-year-old Kevin Davis. The crime happened on November 4 of 2019 at a Popeyes on Livingston Road, where the customers were waiting in line for the recently introduced chicken sandwich. Police say words were exchanged after Davis cut in line. The two went outside, and that's when Davis was stabbed by McLean.
Even with all of that pain and disappointment, Kevin's mother told the defendant today in court that she would pray for him, that she is going to pray every single day for him, and that she hopes that he will be rehabilitated.
McLean will be eligible for parole after 11 years. Well, fire responders from Maryland head to Puerto Rico to provide relief after Hurricane Fiona knocks out power and triggers flooding and landslides. Maryland Task Force 1 is a FEMA search and rescue team made up of dozens of firefighters and civilians. 15 are from Montgomery County, others include responders from Prince George's and surrounding areas. Fiona's path coincides with the wave of destruction that Hurricane Maria left on the island 5 years ago.
There's been a terrible storm event, yet another one, too much water too fast. And a lot of the island is struggling, controlling floods, and the whole island is lacking electricity because that critical infrastructure has been knocked out. So EPA, actually working with sister agencies, is looking at providing emergency response to be able to help folks out. But many of us, including myself, have family there on the island. My cousin's neighborhood, Toa Baja, is underwater. She hasn't been able to confirm as of last night when I talked to her last how much her home had been affected, but her neighborhood has been evacuated. Awaiting more information, and of course, it's a worrisome time.
Meantime, CTV spoke with a College Park woman who has family and friends in Puerto Rico. Wanda Bautista spoke with friends who live on the farm in Puerto Rico. Like many others, they lost power and are using a generator for electricity. The family is in an elevated area and escaped the brunt of the hurricane.
They told me that it's been scary, but they're all safe. They have generators and they're able to speak to loved ones that way. The entire island lost power, and a lot of the damage has been mostly to the farm that they own. So a lot of the animal enclosures have come down. A lot of the plantain trees that they have that they're harvesting are sort of ruined. So besides those impacts, they're healthy, they're safe, and they have access to water and to electricity, which is more than a lot of people in Puerto Rico could say.
Hurricane Fiona is a Category 1 hurricane with maximum sustained winds of 90 miles per hour. Well, the world watched as the British royal family and international dignitaries bid a final farewell to Britain's longest reigning monarch. The state funeral for Queen Elizabeth II took place at Westminster Abbey in London this morning. The Queen's son, now King Charles III, along with his siblings and their families, gathered at the historic Abbey. Following the funeral, the Queen's coffin was taken to St. George's Chapel for a committal service. The coffin was then lowered into the royal vault. And you're watching CTV News. I'm Byron Scott. Coming up, celebrating Adelphi's new Cherokee Lane Elementary School. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Here are the latest COVID-19 numbers for our area. Of the 984 new cases, and 166 are in Prince George's. The county's positivity rate is 9.86%. 10 Marylanders have died of COVID over the past 24 hours, and 463 people are hospitalized. Well, a researcher at Emory University in Atlanta has uncovered a flaw in a medical device that could negatively impact the quality of life for people of color. Taylor Thomas has more on this story.
As we prepare for the cold, flu, and possible resurgence of the COVID-19 season, comes a report of a household item that many of us rely on during the winter months may not be as dependable as we think. And you can find it right here in your bathroom. This infrared temporal thermometer is what we're talking about. A new study states that it is not as reliable in detecting fever in African Americans. It's something that could cause severe illness and possibly worse. Dr. Siva Bhavani is an assistant professor in the Division of Pulmonology, Allergy, and Critical Care at Emory University School of Medicine in Atlanta. He is also the author of the study that has many in the medical world talking.
In white patients, it didn't really matter whether you use a forehead thermometer or an oral thermometer. The measurement was going to be the same. For Black patients, it absolutely mattered because forehead thermometers were missing almost 25% of the fevers that would have been caught with an oral thermometer.
So here's how the infrared technology works in temporal thermometers. Now, the device emits and captures light to determine a person's temperature, but because darker pigmented skin absorbs more light than skin with less pigmentation, the device's calibrations will be off for people of color. Dr. Bhavani hopes his findings will lead to better health care for all patients.
So if we have a patient in the hospital who has a fever, the doctor is notified. So then the doctor is notified that the patient has a fever. The doctor might see the patient sooner. The doctor might give them antibiotics quicker or might even transfer them to the ICU faster. So if fevers are going undetected, that means these patients aren't getting timely care. And so that could mean worse outcomes for Black patients with infection.
Experts say this could be a much larger issue that could include other medical devices that use infrared technology to determine medical conditions in people of color. Taylor Thomas, CTV News.
You can find the full research in the Journal of American Medical Association. Well, Maryland State Police crack a cold case. Investigators have made an arrest in the 2006 murder of 24-year-old Dusty Shuck, who was found in Frederick County along I-70. 64-year-old Gary Artman of White Springs, Florida, has been charged with first and second-degree murder and assault. And more news coming up just a bit. Stay tuned.
Dear humans, I stand here today not for myself, but for every tail wagger, sloppy kisser, and curtain ninja. I stand here for each one of the thousands of dogs and cats killed in shelters each day, asking you to join our cause and help us make sure every best friend has a chance to meet one of their own. With Best Friends Animal Society leading the charge and your help, we can save them all.
Well, Prince George's police are investigating a fatal hit-and-run in Oxon Hill. It happened early yesterday morning, just before 3 a.m. on the 5300 block of Indian Head Highway. Investigators say the victim is a female. Police say they have yet to determine the cause of the incident, but that the driver did not remain on the scene. They say the striking vehicle was a white Jeep Grand Cherokee. Anyone with information is asked to contact the authorities. Well, Maryland declares victory in eradicating an invasive semi-aquatic rodent called nutria. The 20-pound animal, which has a voracious appetite, looks like a cross between a rat and a beaver. Nutria have wreaked havoc on wetlands in the Chesapeake Bay for nearly half a century. They were first brought to the area from South America more than 100 years ago for their furs. After the industry collapsed, farmers set them loose and they spread to at least 20 states. Well, a school community gathers to celebrate its new building. School officials, students, and teachers joining together for the ribbon cutting of the new Cherokee Lane Elementary School this morning. The facility opened at the start of the academic year. As you reported last month, the new state-of-the-art building cost the district $54 million.
We will continue working together with increased urgency because no child in Prince George's County deserves to learn in an inadequate school environment.
Teamwork, of course, took the elected officials who decided that funding Prince George's County Public Schools is a priority.
CEO Dr. Golson says Cherokee Lane is the first of 10 new county schools that will open in the next 2 years.
Hey there, sports fans. Happy Monday. The WNBA season is officially over and the Las Vegas Aces are your champions. Yesterday, the Aces defeated the Connecticut Sun 78-71 in Game 4 of the finals, and history was made in more ways than one, as the Aces captured their first WNBA championship in franchise history, and head coach Becky Hammon made history, becoming the first former player to win a championship as a head coach and the first WNBA coach to win a title in their rookie season. Veteran Chelsea Gray says Coach Hammond spoke life into her team the entire season.
Man, she's been believing us from the beginning just to play our style on both ends of the floor. I don't know if you guys seen it, but we were small as heck. And we just have the belief we were scrappers. And so that's what she instilled in us from the beginning. And it was from the beginning of training camp until now. So we've been working on it and working for each other.
When you're talking about a legacy, when you're talking about you have to win, and I don't win without my teammates. So this moment right here, this year right here is something that I'm never going to forget. And this is not going to be the first. I'm not about to be like Bron and start naming off numbers and stuff. But nah, this won't be the first. And I'm just so glad that I can celebrate this with Chelsea and everyone else because we worked so hard to get to this moment. So for this to be a part of my legacy, a part of my journey, I am blessed. I got to give it all to God because without him, I wouldn't be anywhere.
Congratulations, ladies. Now on the football field this weekend, the Maryland Terrapins hosted SMU. Both teams went into this game with winning records, but the Terps were able to secure the win. The game was back and forth the entire time, but in the end, the Terps beat the Mustangs 34-27. And this is what head coach Mike Loxley had to say after the game.
But to find a way to win, we needed a game like that. I got a lot of respect for the way our guys fought, the resiliency they showed being down. You know, these guys never flinched, never looked at the scoreboard. Obviously, we got a lot of things to get cleaned up on offense. It starts with me with the penalties. I'll get that corrected. But it sure feels good to be 3-0, all right? To be 3-0, the Terps showed great effort. I have no problem with how we play the game of football.
The Terps play their next home game against Michigan State on October 1st, and Friday the university announced a partnership with SecU Credit Union. Capital One Field at Maryland Stadium will be renamed SecU Stadium starting with that game. Now, Saturday's game was special because U.S. Open finalist Francis Tiafoe was honored during the game. Tiafoe grew up in College Park, and he is always seen representing UMD by wearing Terps wristbands during the game. And this is what Tiafoe had to say during the game.
I haven't shown that much love after the best 2 weeks of my life. That means everything to me, so I'm truly happy about it. All young kids that watching me, I hope you took a lot of inspiration off that. I think anybody in this world can do anything.
Well, the Terps suit up again this weekend for a game against the University of Michigan Saturday at noon. Sticking with football, yesterday the Washington Commanders traveled to Detroit to play the Lions and were defeated 36-27. The Commanders host the Eagles Sunday at 1, and that is today's CTV Sports Update.
Okay, thank you. Let's get a quick look now at our 3-day weather forecast tonight. Mostly cloudy with a low around 66. Tuesday, sunny with a high near 84. Wednesday, mostly sunny with a high near 87. Thursday, mostly sunny and cooler with temps reaching high near 78. Rain likely, though, in the evening. And that's our newscast for tonight. We'll see you tomorrow night. I'm Byron Scott.